Ozzy Osbourne, rock's immortal outlaw, the Prince of Darkness, the mad genius behind heavy metal's darkest anthems, took his final breath on July 22, 2025. But the chaos that followed his death may rival the chaos of his life. That morning, an eerie silence blanketed the Osbourne mansion in Buckinghamshire. Sharon, his wife of more than 40 years, had heard nothing all night. No coughs, no groans, not even the familiar shuffle of Ozzy's feet down the hallway. When she opened the door, Ozzy lay still. His skin was pale as frost, yet his face wore a calm, almost haunting peace, like a man who had finally made peace with his demons. Sharon screamed. Paramedics arrived within minutes, but there was nothing to revive. Ozzy Osbourne, the man who had outlived overdose scares, collapsed backstage at concerts and even survived a near-fatal ATV crash, had died in the quiet of his bed. The world gasped. Within hours, tributes flooded social media. Birmingham, his hometown, lit up with candles, black roses, and mourning fans. Metallica posted a heartbreaking tribute. Robert Plant, Elton John, even Justin Bieber. The music world stood still. But just as the world began to mourn, a bombshell dropped. Behind the grief, behind the tributes and the headlines, lurked a secret that would tear the Osbourne family apart. A final will, signed just months before his death, revealed a decision that blindsided everyone. It would ignite what may become one of the most bitter celebrity estate battles of the century. Ozzy's death didn't just leave behind sorrow, it left behind a $220 million empire. And it wasn't just guitars and gold. This was music royalties from 5 decades, real estate in both the UK and California, stakes in Ozzy-branded merchandise, and posthumous image rights that could earn millions for decades to come. So who inherited it all? Just one person, Sharon Osbourne. Not a split among his children, not a balanced legacy plan, not even a trust fund for grandchildren. Every penny, every contract, and every ounce of creative control over the Ozzy Osbourne name was left to Sharon alone. This wasn't just inheritance. This was a consolidation of power, and it shattered the family. None of Ozzy's 3 children from his first marriage, Elliot, Jessica, and Louis, received any authority over his estate. Instead, they were handed a collective $5 million, locked in a UK-based trust. No royalties, no voice, no stake in the brand. Just a symbolic slice of the empire they had no control over. To many, it felt like erasure. The backlash, immediate, explosive. Reports claimed that the moment the will was read, Ozzy's estranged children reached out to attorneys. In public, they said nothing. But behind the scenes, fury, confusion, and above all, suspicion. The will had been signed just 12 weeks before Ozzy died, at a time when he was barely mobile, battling advanced Parkinson's and reportedly forgetting the names of close friends and family. Was he even mentally sound when he signed it? And if not, who guided his hand? To make things worse, the new will voided all previous versions. Versions that insiders claim divided the estate far more evenly. But those versions have mysteriously vanished. No public record, no explanation, just silence. And the witness, not an independent lawyer. It was Sharon's personal attorney. Legal experts are now watching this unfold with growing alarm. Because this isn't just about who got what. This is about whether Ozzy had any real agency left when he signed away his legacy. To some, Sharon is a warrior, the woman who kept Ozzy alive. She wasn't just his wife. She was his manager, his caretaker, his firewall against the madness of fame. But to others, she's a strategist, a power player, the quiet architect of Ozzy's final chapter. In his last 3 years, Ozzy was a ghost of himself. Parkinson's ravaged his body. Spinal implants left him in agony. He struggled to speak, struggled to walk. And yet his schedule, Public image and every word spoken to the media were tightly controlled by Sharon. Reports from staff paint a chilling picture. Surveillance cameras installed across the estate. Interview requests filtered or rejected. One nurse even claimed that when Ozzy tried to sneak out of bed to find a hidden bottle of whiskey, Sharon appeared within 90 seconds. No words. Just a silent pour down the drain. Fans once laughed when she said on TV, "Taking care of Ozzy isn't a wifely duty. It's a burden I bear as his manager." Now, that line echoes like a confession. Was Ozzy's final will a scandal or a silent love letter? Some say it was redemption, a way to thank the woman who stayed by his side through violence, addiction, betrayal, and breakdowns. In his 2007 memoir, Ozzy admitted to physically assaulting Sharon during a drug-induced blackout. He said he almost killed her. She left, but she came back, and she stayed. Supporters argue no one deserves Ozzy's empire more than Sharon. She rebuilt him after Black Sabbath kicked him out. She transformed him into a solo icon. She founded Ozzfest, negotiated deals, managed crises. Ozzy was the legend, but Sharon was the power behind the throne. So maybe when he left her everything, it wasn't betrayal. Maybe it was love. But critics point to the timing. The absence of independent legal oversight, the cold silence since his passing. And they ask, was this a gift or a final move in a decades-long power game? And what of Ozzy's other children, the ones left behind? Jack Osbourne, Ozzy's only son with Sharon, inherited real estate in California and partial control over music royalties, an income stream that could last generations. Kelly Osbourne wasn't just an heir. She was named co-executor of the will. That gives her the power to approve, deny, and control distribution of assets. In essence, she's Sharon's right hand. Amy Osbourne, Ozzy and Sharon's eldest daughter who shunned fame, was treated differently. She was granted a staggered trust fund, locked until age 50. A gift, yes, but also a limit. Some say it was Sharon's decision, not Ozzy's. And for Elliot, Jessica, and Louis, the children from his first marriage, a modest trust, no brand rights, no seat at the table, acknowledged but sidelined. What seemed like a standard will is now being called a tactical masterpiece. Buried in the fine print, Sharon holds absolute control over Ozzy's brand, royalties, and legacy. And once she passes, only her children, Amy, Kelly, and Jack, inherit that power. Everyone else, completely cut out. No provisions for grandchildren, no safety nets for extended family. To analysts and fans, this is more than inheritance. It's a bloodline purge, surgical and final. What makes it worse is the context. Ozzy was barely lucid in those final weeks. According to insiders, he told Jessica, "I want to fix this before I go." But that reconciliation never appeared in the will. Did he change his mind? Or did someone make sure his regrets never saw daylight? We may never know. Ozzy's final days weren't glamorous. They were filled with pain. He could barely hold a spoon. He forgot names. His legendary voice was reduced to a whisper. But still, Sharon stayed. She built him a home studio so he could keep creating. She rejected all media requests. She even cut off contact with relatives to protect his peace. One nurse called her a general commanding a sinking ship. When he lashed out in frustration, she didn't yell. She just looked at him, and he stopped. Their love wasn't soft. It was forged in survival. "I'm no hero," Ozzy once said. "I'm just a survivor, and she's the only one who can swim." On July 22nd, Ozzy died quietly in his sleep. No goodbyes, no last words, just a heartbeat fading in a dark, silent room. Sharon's official statement was brief. He was surrounded by love, but behind the black veil, many wonder, was she shielding grief or something more? Ozzy's funeral wasn't what fans expected. No public procession, no celebrity parade. A quiet service at a centuries-old church near London. The press was barred. The guest list still unknown. But Ozzy's true farewell had already taken place. 2 weeks earlier, July 5th, 2025, Villa Park, Birmingham. The concert was called Back to the Beginning. At the time, no one knew it would be his last. Ozzy sat on an iron throne. His voice cracked, his hands shook, but as soon as he opened his mouth, the crowd lost it. Crazy Train. No more tears. Mama, I'm coming home. People wept. They knew. That concert wasn't just a show, it was a canonization, a final battle cry, a goodbye disguised as glory. I don't need a vigil, Ozzy had told Sharon. I need one more stage. And he got it. Ozzy Osbourne wasn't supposed to live this long. He wasn't supposed to die quietly. For 5 decades, he defied expectations. He bit bats, burned stages, broke every rule. And through it all, he turned suffering into sound, pain into performance. He sold over 100 million records. He brought metal to the mainstream. He became a pop culture icon, even in a bathrobe. And at 73, he dropped a Grammy-winning album that made the world weep. But now, in death, he faces one final encore, a battle over his legacy. Some say he gave it all to the woman who saved him. Others say he was too far gone to stop what was happening. And maybe that's the darkest note of all, because Ozzy didn't just leave behind music. He left behind a mystery, a family in pieces, a will that raised more questions than it answered, and a legend now wrapped in silence. Was this the last act of a grateful man, or the final move in a carefully staged empire? You decide.